I'm going to provide a little bit of context about the Office of Strategic Partnerships at the school district, and then I'm going to sort of highlight the ways in which our work in the past and going forward has sort of been informed by the evaluations that you're going to hear about today. Just as a brief history, there we go, of the Office of Strategic Partnerships, we're a pretty new office. We were founded in 2013. Stacy Holland was at the district and with Superintendent Height sort of pointed out that there's a whole world of partners out there in the district, and there was no coherent centralized strategy around helping those partners connect with schools, easing their pathway to connecting with those schools, codifying the work, understanding it, understanding the school level work. So we really, the creation of the office was to try and address that, begin to standardize those procedures so that we could really capitalize on the sort of diverse array of partners across the district. At the time, I'm sure most of you remember, the district was navigating really severe reductions in its operating budget that really sort of underscored the role that partners could play, the value that they bring to the table in terms of supporting the work of our schools. And as I mentioned, there was no single point of access. Many partners connected. They might have known a school principal. Maybe they read about a school in the newspaper. Maybe they knew somebody at the central office. As you can imagine, that led to a sort of an inconsistent distribution of partners across the board, which we'll sort of get to a little later. So based on that sort of mandate, we developed our mission statement, and it's to coordinate partner and volunteer resources to align them with the goals and priorities of Action Plan 3.0 to help create excellent schools. So there's a lot there, and on the next slide we're going to talk about the Action Plan 3.0 and the anchor goals. But again, what we're starting off is we're grounding our work, we're defining what a partner is, and so that we define a partner as a fully funded organization, so a nonprofit, a corporation, a government agency that's providing programs or services to schools at no cost to the district, schools, or families. So there's a whole host of vendors and other organizations that provide services within the district that get money to do that. But there's also organizations that have grant funding that allows them to provide programming. We want to make sure that we're channeling them into district schools. On the next slide, I just wanted to lay out the anchor goals. If you haven't had a chance to read the action plan, I encourage you to do so. It's the district strategic plan. In thinking about the work of partners, there were really two of the four anchor goals that we saw as sort of really directly connecting to the work that partners could be doing in our schools. That's anchor goal 1, which is 100% of students will graduate ready for college and career, and anchor goal 2, 100% of 8-year-olds will read on grade level. That happens to fortuitously be aligned with the city's Read by Fourth initiative, which is always good when we're working on the same thing. And then again, the other two anchor goals are less related to the work that partners would do. You can see them below. So as I stated, we formed the office in 2013. Up until that point, there was no centralized approach to partnerships. So that meant that we knew very little across the board about where partners were, what they were doing, why they were in buildings, how those relationships formed. So before we jumped in and just started referring partnerships, sending them to schools, we really realized that we needed to take stock of the existing ecosystem of partners in the district and be very intentional about listening to schools, specifically school leaders, not just making decisions for schools, but really trying to hear from them about who's currently in your building and then also what are your needs that partners could potentially address. So that was one of the major priorities of our sort of early work. And again, we didn't want to disrupt anything that existed before our office was created. We really didn't want to get rid of partnerships just because we were now the office, and if they didn't go through us, we wanted to get rid of them. We really wanted to preserve what was already sort of positive and happening in our schools. So the sort of first theme that other panelists will touch on is around our data project, which again is about trying to get a sense of where partners are located, what are schools' needs. So the first round of the data project was something that we as an office designed. We designed 2 web-based surveys. One was school-facing and one was partner-facing. So we distributed surveys to schools, we sent out a link, and we asked them to list their partnerships, and list their needs. We ask them if they have a designated partnerships coordinator that's sort of in the school that takes on a lot of the coordination work. And similarly, we sent out a survey to partners where we asked them, what is it that you're doing? Where are you located? What is the name of your program? And I feel pretty proud about our results. We got about a 62% response rate from schools. Again, just sending out that link over and over again. And we heard from over 300 partner programs. So that was the sort of pilot phase of information collection. The following year, this past school year, the 2015-2016 school year, you're going to hear about the work that the Office of Research and Evaluation did to expand upon that initial idea of reaching out to schools, hearing about who is in your building, and what your needs are as a school leader and as a school. In an ideal world, we want to make sure that partners that are connecting with schools have goals that overlap with the goals of the school. We don't want to push a partnership into a school that doesn't match up with the school leader's vision for that school, because we don't see that partnership flourishing and sustaining over time. So our goal is really to create lasting partnerships and to onboard partners in an efficient way, which is, again, something that we'll sort of touch on later in the presentation. So as you can see, I mean, some of the benefits that we see for schools and partners are listed below. Again, as we sort of expand knowledge around this work, we sort of have developed common language, words, procedures. We're really trying to develop sort of shared meaning about partnerships across the district and across networks. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without learning about who is out there and what they're doing. In the first 2 years of our work from 2014 until now, we've tried to get in front of every sort of partner network that we can to sort of let them know that we're here and this is the work that we're doing. Just again, trying to sort of get everybody on the same page, and so that we could be hearing from people about what it is that the district could be doing better, so that we could sort of structure our work going forward to make sure that it's aligned with what people want to see, both school leaders and partners. So the other major initiative that you're going to hear about from another panelist that really has a sort of direct impact on our past work and then our work going forward is sort of expanding our understanding of partnerships coordination at the school level. It may not surprise most of you, but most schools do not have a dedicated person that's responsible for coordinating the work of partners. So I'm sure many of you have heard about the principal that is also serving as a school nurse at times. They're also serving as a partnerships coordinator sometimes. Sometimes it's the special education liaison. It's somebody that sees the importance of the work and goes outside of their job description to take it on, because they see partners as playing a central role in great schools. Fortunately, sort of at the same time as we were collecting data about who was doing what where, there were sort of 2 models being piloted that sort of specifically were set to learn about what is it like to set up a partnerships coordination framework at a school. One of those models was implemented by the Philadelphia Higher Education Network for Neighborhood Development, FEND. They placed VISTAs in schools, so a school would apply to host a VISTA, and then that VISTA would take on the partnerships coordination work. It's a 3-year model cohort, so you'd get a VISTA each year, and the idea is that they're working with the school to build out the coordination framework, to convene partners, to discuss what the goals of the school are, things like that. And then United Communities of Southeast Philadelphia Collaborative, which is a slightly different approach to that work, but again, the goals are quite similar. It's really sort of working with schools to articulate a clear vision for partners in the building and to really make sure that the partners that are in the building are aligned with that mission, and if there's other partners out there, to try and get them into the building. So you'll hear more about that from Sarah Costello. As these models were unfolding and as they continue to unfold, our office plays a supportive role. We provide assistance where we can to these school-based coordinators. We're also learning from them. So as they encounter challenges, whether it's with a procedure that's in place at 440 that maybe doesn't make sense anymore, we're hearing about it and noting it, and that's helping us understand how we can make procedures at the central office more efficient and less onerous for schools and staff people. And so, as I said, I mean, a formal evaluation was conducted. You're going to hear about it. It's really exciting stuff. One of the things that's particularly exciting about it is that a framework and a toolkit are coming out of this. So again, as we consider how we sort of codify and standardize this language around partners, this conceptualization of what it means to be a partner in the School District of Philadelphia. These are really valuable tools. And so when we talk about the next steps of our work, we're really considering how can we use all of the tools that came out of this work in helping to expand partnerships in the district, quality partnerships. So given that discussion, I just want to kind of touch on how our office sort of currently sees itself, how we situate ourselves in this work. Again, our priority is to listen and really hear the realities of what are going on in schools. How can the district central office do a better job of helping schools, lessening the sort of bureaucratic burden that's put on them to get a partnership established. We see sort of our main clients as schools, partners, but then also internal departments within 440, the central office. A lot of our work hinges on having positive working relationships with other offices that have sort of key functional roles, a part to play in the establishment of partnerships, whether it's the Office of Facilities or the Office of Enrichment or the Office of Athletics. I mean, they all have a stake in the work of partners. If a partner happens to be focused on arts programming, then we want to make sure that the people that work here that do that work within schools are aware of it and supportive of it, and that we're helping them leverage partners in whatever sort of impact area they're responsible for. So let's move on. Based on how we've benefited from the work that you're going to hear about again from these other panelists, I mean, these are just some of the things that we're really aiming to do as we move forward. Over these past few years, because again, there was not really an established procedure around partnerships, we were getting our name out there. We really want to move to a place where we're being more proactive about asking partners, funders, system partners, the city. We're asking them to do things that are based on what we heard from school leaders and what we learned from the partnerships coordination evaluation. Before, we were in a position where a lot of times we were sort of reacting to a partner approaching us and saying we want to work with the district. Now we're in a position, we have really powerful information to drive a conversation about sort of steering investments and priorities for other folks so that it matches what principals and schools are asking for. As I already alluded to, and I doubt anybody's surprised about, we really need to clarify and streamline district policies and procedures that impact this work. Schools don't have the time to labor over detailed legal agreements necessarily, but it's still important that we have something in place. So it's a matter of aligning the district's policies with feasible, doable procedures that sort of ensure that we're compliant with those policies, but also that they get done and completed. And so that in order to do that, we have to acknowledge the current sort of strain on capacity at the school level. And again, that's, I think, where the partnerships coordination work, what you're going to hear about, is really sort of important to consider. And it points to some ideas about how we could maybe expand upon that work. As you know, as I've touched on, we really want to continue to build out a shared understanding of what it actually means, what it means to be a partner, what partnerships coordination looks like, and how the framework can be useful in the near term given the strain on capacity, and then in the long term pointing more towards perhaps developing a more formalized role that doesn't entail somebody stepping out of their normal job description to take on the work. And lastly, a really important one is we need to figure out how we can sort of regularly maintain the data that we collect so that it's fresh, so that it's dynamic. Again, it plays a central role in how we've channeled partners to date, knowing what schools say their needs are, where partners are. The goal of the district is to ensure equity across all schools, and in order to do that, we need accurate information about who is in that school building and what the priorities of that school are that could be addressed by partners. And so that's something that, as an office and in collaboration with some other offices here, we're really trying to figure out a way to tackle. And yeah, so if you have any questions, we have a website that I would recommend that you go to, and if you want to give us feedback on it, that would be really helpful too. We have a lot of resources. I think our website is sort of both school and partner facing. And so if you want to reach out and you want to talk, or if you're a partner and you want to figure out how to connect with schools, we really would love to have that conversation. before I wrap up, I mean, in fact, all of our team, I think, is here right now, so I would like to introduce them. There's Vicki Ellis, our executive director, right here, our fearless leader. There's 3 partnerships coordinators, so I'm one of them. My work focuses mostly on out-of-school time programs that are based in our schools. We've got Ayana over there, partnerships coordinator, Micael, Navarro, Lopez, and our Americorps VISTA, Ellie, Zimet. And so, yeah, that's my presentation thus far. I mean, I feel very honored to be near these panelists. I mean, they're all colleagues that I've known for a long time now, and I really can't emphasize enough how important their work is in sort of driving our sort of next practical steps, which again is not always the case, but the purpose of this conference is to highlight when that happens, and so I can attest to the fact that that is actually happening. And so yeah, and I guess we're going to have questions at the end after all of the panelists are done, so yeah, we'll stick around. Yeah, thank you.